The morning train to Chiryu is filled with commuters, most of whom didn't get enough sleep last night. So they catch up on it here on the train, which is perfectly possible because in spite of the crowd, it is very quiet. No one feels the need to talk loudly on a cell phone or to discuss last night's baseball game. Chiryu was the 39th post station. I look forward to visiting it, but the first impression tempers that desire somewhat. Even though the city turns up its fountain and installed a lovely statue to greet all arrivals, it fails to charm me. Usually the eclectic architecture of these towns adds up to something, but here, that simply doesn't happen. I head a bit further out of town, but in spite of the fine weather, Chiryu doesn't get more attractive there either. There's a Cathedral of St. Mary here, but I suspect its name has more to do with marriage than the Holy Virgin. Besides, I'm not convinced its location is going to impress friends and family. The Old Tokaido lies nearby, as is the place I have come to see. A statue of a horse indicates that Chiryu's well-known horse market used to be held here, and it is precisely this market Hiroshige chose to depict. He shows a number of horses tied up in a field. There's a large pine tree under which buyers and sellers are discussing prices. The market actually took place in spring, not summer, when Hiroshige made the trip, so he probably used his imagination or relied on other sources. But it doesn't matter. Today, there's nothing even remotely like it in this part of Chiryu to confirm the setting, other than this statue. Not far from the spot where the horse market used to be held, Route 1 continues onward. There are no horses here either, but the dealers remain, so I decide to visit one.
こんにちは、ようこそフレックスへ。じゃあ今日はランドクルーザーをおすすめします。ランドクルーザー100の4700リッターっていうので、エンジンがまずトヨタ V8 の4700リッターで、リッター大体
As salesman Naohiro Tanaka sings the praises of my first choice, I notice I don't even need to know too much Japanese to follow the description.
で、タイヤサイズっていうのが若干6インチ上がってるので、タイヤが315の
From engine to tire size, body and frame, it all makes
アル
sense.
ミが入ってます。で、6インチ上がってるんですが、
This is truly a fine gas guzzler, and with 265 horses under the hood, considerably more powerful than the entire market Hiroshige showed in his image. There's only one difference with car dealerships elsewhere: no haggling about the price. But Tanaka-san is kind enough to give me a test ride. If not on the Old Tokaido, then at least in the direction of Narumi, its 40th station. Along the way, he tells me a bit more about himself.
僕はこの隣の豊明ってところです。高校卒業してトヨタの方で車作ってたんで。
There's also a bit of a sales pitch, which is concluded by the one sentence that should seal the deal.
この車乗ってるとみんな振り向きますよ。
And this, coming from a man who speaks from experience.
僕はこういう車ですね。リフトアップして、この車の方より1個前の方なんですけど、もうその車も非常にいい車だと僕は思ってるので。
If car sales are a good indicator of the health of the economy, then Japan is doing all right, according to Tanaka. Sales are brisk.
若い人だったら、高校卒業した18歳から上の年代はもう60歳ぐらいまでオール 行けますね。
Since that still leaves me a bit of time to get my own, I pass for the time being.
やっぱ一度はランクルですね。
But I will keep my friendly companion's advice in mind. The ride has brought me to the outskirts of Nagoya. Nearby is a quiet section where the Old Tokaido is still flanked by some beautiful old houses. This is Arematsu, in the past a small town of its own, but now absorbed by the city of Nagoya. Hiroshige made his sketch for the Tokaido post town of Narumi here. Arematsu was known for its dyed fabrics known as shibori, and he shows some women walking past some of the town's stores. Their interiors look warm and inviting, and display some wonderful designs. The stores are still there, as are the shoppers and the people making these fabrics. But whereas shibori was once a less expensive alternative to silk, today it has developed into a highly specialized and rather expensive art form. Still, it is nice to see this craft being practiced 400 years after it originated here. Past Narumi, the Old Tokaido heads to Atsuta Shrine in Nagoya. Hiroshige picked the shrine for his image of the city, which made sense. Atsuta was, and still is, one of the most important shrines in all of Japan. He shows groups of men chasing horses in one of the shrine's many rituals. It is a cleverly done image, juxtaposing the shrine's torii gate with the two groups of festival goers. There's no such commotion when I arrive. Instead, the shrine is being invaded by boys and girls dressed in kimono. Today is Shichi-go-san, a coming-of-age ritual where children aged 3, 5, and 7 are brought to the temple to be blessed and to ask the spirits and ancestors to look after them. Given the importance of that request, they're dressed in traditional outfits. It leads to a constant coming and going of very cute children, accompanied by proud parents and grandparents. But by the time I get there, the excitement of wearing these fancy costumes and of posing for one picture after another seems to be wearing a little thin. Most Tokaido travelers of old would have visited the shrine before heading on to the waterfront, where a ship waited to take them onwards to the next station. There is a small park where the ferry landing used to be, but aside from that, there's not a great deal to see here. Miya used to be the Tokaido's largest and busiest post station, but the action has shifted farther north, to the center of Nagoya. Nagoya is Japan's fourth largest city, after Tokyo, Yokohama, and Osaka. Like the others, it was flattened during the war, but rebuilt with a bit more forethought. Rather than the maze of streets and alleys that existed prior to the war, urban planners took advantage of the damage to reconstruct the city on a grid plan. That makes it far easier to navigate than most Japanese cities and gives it a cosmopolitan flair, which looks particularly good at night. Most of my lodging these past few days have been in small towns or villages, which basically turn pretty moribund once it gets dark. Nagoya is different